Were you scammed out of your money and you want to know how to get it back? Or did you hear about some people like me getting scammed out of their money and you want to know what to do if it happens to you? Well, honey, I can relate. I got scammed out of over $41,000, and through the grace of God, my own fortitude, and the help of my people, I was able to get it all back and some. However, although my story had a happy ending, boo-boo, it don't usually, okay? This is not the norm. I don't want you to get it twisted at all. It's very hard to get your money back. So I do not want anybody that I know, none of my people, to go through what I did. So in this video, I am going to be sharing 5 things that I learned from being a victim of a wire scam so that you can be prepared, so that you know what to do if it happens to you or if it happens to anyone that you know. I'm Inez, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel, the best place for Black women who are trying to make their dreams of Black travel a reality, child. I have been to over 15 countries across 5 continents, all while working a full-time job, and I have planned group trips and solo trips since 2012. So no matter where you are on your travel journey, I can help you navigate the next steps to stay tripping. If that sounds like something you want to do, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications. And if you want to know what to do if a scammer comes for you, keep watching. So if you missed out on video number 1, make sure you go see that. It's here on my channel. That video talks about what I learned, as well as what you should do if you become a victim of a wire scam. This is video 2, as promised. In this video, I'm going to talk about what you should do if you become a victim, but I'm also going to talk about some of the things you should do to prepare, to make sure that if it does happen, that you have the resources that you need in order to move smoothly through the crisis, right? Just to give a little bit of backstory, on March the 31st, I come downstairs and I'm talking to my husband after I have spent, 3 weeks trying to figure out how we're going to raise $50,000 in order to close on our property, still our very first investment property. And I say to him, I'm like, babe, if we don't have $30,000 raised by tomorrow, which would have been Friday, then we should just ask for another extension on our closing day, right? Because we're supposed to close on the 8th of April. And if we didn't have the money, we didn't have at least $30,000 of the dollars raised by the 1st, I was like, we should just ask for an extension. And he was like, yeah, you're probably right. Like, maybe we could extend it again and the seller will be okay with it. He was like, but why is there $15,000 in our Bank of America account? And I was like, $15,000? What do you mean there's $15,000 in our Bank of America account, right? So he's like, yeah, it's $15,000 in the Bank of America account. And I was like, he might have had the comma wrong, because my husband ain't from here, so he might have thought 15,000 and it was really 1,500, right? So I go and look at our Bank of America account, and surely enough, it's $15,000 in there. So I'm like, oh my God. So I scroll through the transactions and I see that there are $13,887 in our account from Bank of America. And it says that it is a refund or a repayment for wire fraud. It says a partial repayment, right? So I'm like, oh my God, like we're losing our mind. So I look at the clock at that moment and it was 3:33 on the dot, right? 333 is my absolute favorite number. It is actually my angel number. It is also my line number. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta. 33 is my 9 number. 333 is my number, right? And so it really means that your angels are watching over you, that they're protecting you, and that they're guiding you. So at 333 on the dot on March 31st is when I found out we were getting a partial repayment of our funds that we had stolen. So I immediately called the fraud officer and I was like, is this partial, meaning this is all we're getting, right? Because it's partial of what we lost, or is it partial meaning there's more coming? Okay, I need to know, I need to be clear on the specifics. So what we found out was he calls me back and he says, yeah, this is a partial payment. The other amount is coming back, but it's going to take longer. So one of the things that I talked about in my previous video was the difference between a fraud and a scam, right? And if you missed it, again, go see that in that video. But basically, a scam, the only way you can get your money back is if it comes from the person who stole it, meaning it has to come from their bank account back into yours. And as a part of the process, right, the banks have to move the money the same way it went. So if we send money to an account and the fraudster moved it to another account, it has to go from that other account back to the account we sent it to and then back to us, right? It literally has to follow the same exact flow. So the reason why the second amount of money, which I think is about $24,000 that we're getting back, is going to take longer is because that money was actually sent from the account that we put it in to another account at Signature Bank, and subsequently from that account all the way to another account at Bank of America. So the money has to go from the account at Bank of America all the way back to the accounts at Signature Bank that they moved it from, all the way back to the original account that we sent it to, and then back to us, right? So that's why the other amount is going to take a little longer to get to us, but it is coming, right? So after I found that out, I was like elated. Like I literally was doing hallelujah runs in the house, jumping, shouting, all the things, because at that point I realized, like, yes, like we're only about, you know, a little over $4,000 out of the funds, right? A good amount. We'll get about 38K back from the actual people who stole it. And then we sent almost 42,000, right? So, you know, we had that gap. But then, come on, Lord. Then I realized that our GoFundMe had almost the exact amount. Actually, it had a little bit more than what we lost, right? At this point, it has a little bit more than what we lost. And between, you know, that and, you know, our family loaning us money in the interim so that we can make it to our closing date, you know, we were all the way back at whole. So it's just been an amazing story. It's been a wild ride, but I'm trying to use every opportunity that I have in order to share what I learned so that you all can have the tools and the knowledge that you need to be able to overcome this situation. Because again, like I said before, this is not the norm. This is just not the norm. So with all that said, one of the additional things that I learned in this process was to have a plan of how you're going to get your money back, and then continuously be okay with reviewing and revising that plan. So one of the things I did at the very beginning of this journey was I had a note in my notes in my phone, and it was just called, literally the note was called Getting Our Money Back, right? And in there I had all of the things that I was going to do in order to get our money back, whether it was following up with the fraud officer, sending the email that I talked about in my previous video, you know, reaching out to people in cybersecurity, just, you know, just all the things, starting to GoFundMe, like all of the things that I was going to do. And as I talked to more people about the situation, other people were giving me additional ideas. So I had a friend who had worked in fraud at Bank of America. I had, you know, a couple of mentors who were experienced real estate investors who were giving me ideas. Like, you know, I had people in my family who were giving me ideas. It was just like so many things that people were inputting into that plan, and I was reviewing the plan and putting stuff in there, continuously putting stuff in there, right? So because my focus was on what I wanted, and what I wanted was to get our money back. So it was important for me to continuously update that plan. And one of the things that I realized about having that plan was that it really helped to pull me out of the emotion, right? The shock, the awe, the despair, the devastation, the sadness, the embarrassment, all of the emotions that I was feeling. That list of what to do, like things we're going to do in order to get our money back, helped refocus my mind, right? Anytime I was like spiraling out, it was like, all right, what does the list say? All right, let's do that. Who do I need to call? I need to call 25 people. Let me call 25 people. Like just that type of thing, right? So it helped to pull me out of the emotion and get me into action. So a lot of times when I was talking to people, they would say, I can't even believe that you're not like in a pool somewhere crying, right? In a pool of tears. So, you know, it was the list. The list is what helped me to do that. So one of the things that I would say is, if you are ever a victim, write out all of the things you're going to do to get your money back. Have it somewhere that you are consistently, easily going to be able to access it, review it, and update it and revise it as you're getting input from people who, you know, actually have valuable input, right? Don't just put everything on there. Get the valuable input from people and put that on the list and review it and revise it, and then make sure that you're sticking to that in order to get your money back. The next thing I would say is, don't be afraid to ask for help. So when I decided to create my GoFundMe, it was a very emotional thing because I'm a very independent person and I usually figure stuff out on my own. And I'm used to like doing, setting a goal and going after it by myself, if not with, my team of people who I have enlisted to help me with it. And it's kind of like a small circle. And then we just go after it, right? And we make things happen. And people usually most people who are through my social media view what has gone on from the outside. Like they see the success, but they don't necessarily see the down times, right? Because I don't choose to share them as much. Creating the GoFundMe was a huge thing because it was like, all right, now I just really got to share the bad, right? The hard, the bad, the sad, the embarrassing thing at the time with everyone because I really needed people's help. And one of my friends shared with me, I called her because she is great at raising money. Like it's something she has done in her business. And I was like, this is not something I'm comfortable with. And this is not something I necessarily want to do. And one of the things she told me was, allow people to help you make this dream a reality. And the way that you have to think about it, right? As opposed to thinking about it as like, I'm taking people's money or I'm, hurting people by borrowing their money. Like, look at it as these people want to see you win, right? If you're a type of person who you have a good reputation, people know that you're, the things that you're going after are for a bigger and better and greater cause, right? Then good people want to see good people win. That's the bottom line. Good people want to see good people win, and they will help you, right? She told me to enlist people in our dream, enlist more people in our dream, and be okay, right? If the people who you think are going to help don't help, because inevitably there will be people who you had no idea that they would help who will jump in. And that's exactly what happened, right? So I would say to you, ask for help. If you need help, ask for help, right? Whether it's monetary help to get you through so you can continue to do the thing that you were planning to do while you work out, getting your money back, ask for the help. And then also be okay with who shows up and be okay with who does not show up. Because at the end of the day, just because they may not show up for you monetarily, that has nothing to do with what they may feel for you, right? It may just be that they are not in a position to do that, right? Or that they're not choosing to give the support that you need in that manner. So allow people to show up however they're going to show up. I promise you, there are some people who showed up for me and showed up for us in this crisis that I had no idea that they would be the people that will be so involved and show up so heavily throughout this process. If you happen to be a victim of wire scam for real estate specifically, right, then I would say ask your team, right, your realtor, your broker, your lawyer, the people who you're working with, ask them what they can do to help as well. One of my real estate mentors and one of our really good friends gave me some ideas of things to do and ask my actual team, and like it actually had them thinking. So they may not be thinking about what way they may be able to help you, but there may be ways that they can help you. So whether it is, potentially being able to ask the lender if they can float the loan for you and allow you to have a lower down payment, seeing if your team has cybersecurity insurance in order to be able to file a claim in order to help you, even potentially, being able to extend your contract 3 to 4 weeks, right? So that you have time to raise the money that you need, whatever it is. Make sure that you actually reach out to your team as well and ask them for help too. The next thing I want to share is something that I realized that I didn't do on purpose but it worked out. So I want you to be able to do it on purpose, which is building your network now, right? So what happened was my mother works for a company, right? That company does cybersecurity recruiting, right? So they recruit people who are in cybersecurity, right? And so one of the people in that company is really great at cybersecurity, right? He, of course, this is what they do. So he does this for a living. So when he heard what was going on with us, right, he was like, tell Inez to send me the original emails that she received. Like you have to do, there's a certain way that you can send an email that shows the person what IP address that email came from, right? So based on that IP address, they can tell what computer, right, what device actually sent that email. So he told me to send it to him so that he could look that up and see where exactly it came from. Come to find out, that's how we found out that the scammers were in South Africa, or in Johannesburg, South Africa, because he found out that the email came from a cell phone, specifically a specific company called Cell C or something like that in Johannesburg, right? So that's how we found out where it came from. In addition to that, I was able to send that information to both of the fraud investigators at both Bank of America and Signature Bank, right? So they could know, all right, cool. You know, here's where it originated, right? It didn't originate in the US. It didn't originate on my team, you know, my real estate team, and it didn't originate from me, right? In addition to that, he was like, I am going to call up her fraud investigators so that I can give them some background on the people who are in Johannesburg, South Africa, and what's kind of going on there, so they have some understanding of kind of what's going on there. So he's like, have her send me the contact information for the fraud investigators. So I sent him the fraud investigator information, and come to find out, he just happened to be connected, like knows personally, the fraud investigator I had at Bank of America, like knows him, right? So he's like, oh, I know so-and-so. Let me just call him up. Now, I had no idea how much this was going to help me. But the reason why I say this is you need to build a network. In the world today, scamming happens all the time across all industries. It just happened to us via real estate. People getting scammed out of cash out, everything. So you need to connect in cybersecurity, because I truly believe that the fact that this man called up my fraud investigator is what released the funds. Because I think that they were investigating us to make sure that we were not a part of the scam before they were going to release the funds. And that's why they initially told us that it was going to take 6 months in order for us to get whatever money was available back, because they needed to investigate the people who sent it, but they also want to investigate us. Once they got a phone call from this person to the fraud investigators, through the fraud investigator, to say, hey, you know, I know them, this is what happened, this is what's going on. I feel like that shut down the investigation on us specifically and allowed them to be like, okay, we can release the funds to them. And that's how we ended up getting the initial $13,000 back, because I swear days after he said he was going to call him, we had that money back. So I say this to say, start to build your network of people. You need to know somebody who's in cybersecurity. You need to know somebody who's an experienced real estate investor, or an experienced investor in general. If you're doing real estate, you need to know somebody who is a fraud investigator, somebody who works in fraud, right? Somebody who deals with this day to day at a bank, right? That I also had somebody who had worked previously at Bank of America in the fraud department, who was helping me to figure out what to do, who to contact, what's right, what's not right, what to expect, what not to expect, all of these things. And I found these people haphazardly, because again, I was the lead investigator. And if you don't know where that comes from, go back and watch the other video. I went on LinkedIn and was seeing who's in my network and who had worked in fraud, and you know, how close I was to them. And I found somebody, reached out to them, and she was a huge help. So start building out your network of people who can help with these type of situations. I would also say, start building up your reputation as being somebody who is trustworthy, right? I think because I'm just a person who's trustworthy. Like I'm loyal to the people I love, and I'm trustworthy because I do what I'm supposed to do. And I have a good reputation with the people that know and trust me, and my friends and my family. And so because of that, people were willing to help us, and people were willing to loan to us, knowing that I ain't about no ish, right? If I'm spending this money, I am like, people who called me and were like, I can't believe this happened to you. I know that you are thorough. I know you do your due diligence. I know that you read everything. I know, right? That's my reputation. So I would say, in addition to building your network of people, like, start building your own reputation, right? When people look at you, what do they see? If this was to happen to you, would people say, I'm not surprised? Or would they be like, oh my God, like, how did it happen to her? I must help, right? Like, so that is something that I would suggest you do as well. The next thing I would say is, especially around real estate investing, but really any type of large investments that you're doing, aim to have way more money than you need, right? Because one of the things that we had our money that we had ready to be able to invest, right, for our down payment. We also had a little bit of an additional stash in order to be able to cover anything that happened during our rehab, right? But in total, we probably had about $60,000, right? Let's say we had like $60,000. And we were planning to spend 41 on our down payment, and so we would have a little bit more in order to cover something that may have happened in our rehab. Had we had way more money than we needed, right? Had we had access to way more capital than we needed, we still could have moved easily through the process of getting our property, and it wouldn't have been so stressful, right? It would have been like stressful, like, oh, I got to get this money back, but it wouldn't have been hindering the closing of our property, right? And so I say that to say, because we lost the 41, it made me start thinking about how to get more capital, right? So I went to our home equity line of credit and asked for an increase, right? Found out they could potentially give us an increase there. I started doing research on business credit and how to get business credit. Found out that Wells Fargo has a great business line of credit that you can apply for and get a large amount, even for small businesses, as long as you have a relationship with Wells Fargo and your business is a certain amount of years old, right? I would have not known about any of these things had we not lost this money. But at the same time, if I had been thinking bigger and if I had been prepared to have way more money than I needed, then I would have been thinking about that, right? So I'm going to say that is something I absolutely learned, is make sure that you just have more money, way more money than you need. Start thinking about these types of things happening, especially if you are in business, right? If you're in business, you always are going to need more capital than you expect. You never know what's going to happen, right? We had no idea this was going to happen, right? So just be thinking bigger, right? Just be thinking bigger and preparing for the worst. Not in a sense like, oh my God, it's coming. Oh my God. But more in like, I'm going to be good either way, right? And at this point, that's where my mind is. We're going to be good either way at this point. I'm going to be applying for business credit. I'm going to be building our trade lines. I'm going to be doing the things. I'm going to have so much capital available for our business that we're going to be good either way. Don't get it twisted. This mistake will not happen again. But we're going to be good either way. The last thing that I would say I learned that I think that we should be doing, and I plan to do, and you should be doing, is to make sure that you protect all sensitive information that you share via encryption or a secured site. One of the afterthoughts I had as a part of this process was, it wasn't until I started communicating with Bank of America and Signature Bank that I started getting emails to links to a secured site in order to send documentation as well as in order to have conversations. So Bank of America would send me an email, and on that email would say, here's a link to a secured site for you to respond, to open your message and for you to respond to your message, right? I would have to go into that site, log in, put in my password in order to see the email from my fraud investigator for Bank of America, in order to respond, in order to upload documents. Same thing for Signature Bank. And I was like, the reason why they're doing that is because they know that clearly everybody in these Google streets, everybody in these Gmail streets. So your Gmail is not really a safe place to be sending sensitive information. And it put my mind to work. Like, how much information have I shared with my real estate team that is super sensitive? I've sent bank statements. I've sent my ID. There's all kind of things, right? That it's not like I'm sending it all willy-nilly. I'm sending it via email to them. They're emailing me. I'm sending it via email. However, Gmail is not the secured method for sending this information. So in addition to all of the other things that I've shared, make sure that you are just thinking about how to secure your sensitive information. One of the ways that I learned that you can do that is through a secured site, right? Like the banks do. If you are a real estate professional and you are the person who's receiving this type of information, I suggest that you make the investment for the protection of your clients to secure their information, right? I don't know how much a secure site costs. I don't know how much it is to do that from your end on a business perspective, but it's worth the protection of your clients, right? And yourself as well. Also, if you're somebody like me, from what I understand, you also can encrypt messages or secure them via Google Suite. So if you have a Gmail email, right, you have, for instance, your email at gmail.com, right? You can actually buy a Google Suite account, which I think is about $20 a month. I have it for one of my other businesses. And you can secure and encrypt your emails and make it so that people have to have a password to get access to your emails through your Google Suite. And it may be at your domain. So for instance, that might be, at, I'm a real estate investor.com, right? As opposed to at gmail.com. That's the difference between Gmail and Google Suite, right? So my company is Deeper Than Travel has an at is Deeper Than Travel domain through Google Suite, right? So you can use that to secure your information, but I say buy anyway, by hook or by crook. Figure out a way to secure your information before you send it to anyone, especially if you're doing real estate transactions, especially if you're doing investing transactions, especially where you're sending your information like your name, your address, your phone number, your bank statements, any of those things. Make sure that you do that so that you can at least protect that information before it could potentially get in the hands of somebody who is not going to use it for any good. And all right, y'all, that's it. That's all. I hope this video has helped you to be more on alert and has helped you to feel more prepared to take on a scammer. If you made it this far in the video, comment "I'm on alert" in the comments and let me know which tip helped you the most. And also make sure you tag a friend so that they're on alert as well. So now that we are on our way to the closing table, I can move back to what I was doing, which was planning all of the trips that me and my family plan to take this year. We will be traveling to diaspora, so stay tuned to this channel if you want to see more about how I'm making that happen. Specifically, if you're somebody who's looking to dive into Black travel, right, without booking a flight. If you're trying to stay in the U.S., or you're trying to do some road tripping, make sure you download my digital cheat sheet called Finding Big Fun. It has all of the hashtags, the sites that I use in order to find fun things, fun ways to immerse myself in the travel without leaving the United States. The link is in the description below. Also, if you want to see more of me finding the time, the money, the strategy, honey, just all the things in order to make my dreams of Black travel a reality, make sure you go follow me on Instagram at International Inez. I love to get DMs from my YouTube family. And I want to know where you are planning to go this year. And if you love this video, then I know you are one of my people. So make sure that you like this video, that you subscribe to this channel so that you can get notifications and you can learn more about how to transform your life through travel. And until we meet again, stay tripping.